Is Lauri, an alleged computer hacker, currently appealing against an extradition order to the United States. He's been accused of stealing data from several US agencies, including the FBI. Lauri, thanks very much for being with us. In terms of cyber attacks that we have seen in the past, how significant, how complicated, how successful has this been compared to others?
This is probably the worst cyber incident that I recall. It may be the worst cyber incident in history, just in terms of the sheer number of hosts affected, and here in the UK in terms of the seriousness of the National Health Service being so poorly affected.
Those likely to be responsible?
So far we don't have much idea about who may be responsible. There may be clues. There are people reverse engineering the malware itself, looking for clues such as language, but so far the only indications are that it's a serious organised crime game.
Up to 74 countries have been affected. Do we think that this ransomware has run its course now, or do we think that we are likely to see it spreading further and further?
I'm sad to say that this is probably only just beginning. Administrators are in for a very difficult weekend. The infected machines, if they're not turned off, are scanning the entire internet currently, and we should expect to see this in almost every country in the world.
For those of us who are not as technologically literate as yourself, explain the significance of the fact that the computers that haven't been switched off are scanning the internet, presumably to deposit the malware in other host machines.
Yeah, so it means that if you've been infected, not only have your files been encrypted and you're being held to ransom, but your machine is being used as a zombie to attempt to affect other machines on the internet. This means that it will tend to grow at an exponential rate until it runs out of vulnerable hosts to infect.
Best guess, Lauri, I mean, how did this program, this malware, spread quite so widely?
Okay, well, without getting political, the reason this has been so effective is that it has used a vulnerability that was released by some hackers, originally developed by the NSA in America. So it's like a garden variety gang has suddenly got the top military equipment and they're using it to hold the world to ransom.
So they have taken something that has been identified by security services in the United States as a potential weakness in the technology and the programming and are using it for their own gains.
Yeah, so a hacker group called Shadow Brokers released some exploits that had been developed by the spy agency, the NSA in America. Microsoft had patched these about 2 months ago, but not enough noise was made about the importance of applying these patches, and older computers would not have been able to get a patch. So suddenly criminals have these very powerful cyber weapons, and as we see, they're causing havoc.
Why would an organisation like Microsoft not have been screaming from the rooftops about the fact that there was the potential for systems around the world to go down in this fashion?
Okay, so Microsoft, as the vendor, will be put in a very difficult position. If they announced that it was a very important vulnerability, the criminals would seize on it. As they have perhaps not emphasised it enough, companies affected with vulnerable Windows systems have been slow to roll out the patch. However, for a company, an organisation as large as the NHS, rolling out these security updates is a non-trivial endeavour, so it can take time. Hopefully now that there's such chaos, people will be scrambling to do so.
Just in terms of the process by which this has taken place, the fact that we have seen attacks, we've seen computers around the world, 74 countries and as you say, counting, have been affected. The fact that we saw it all happening at once, that suggests to me that someone somewhere has been sitting with a figure poised over the return button ready to deploy this.
Yes, a significant amount of organisation and preparation would have gone into creating this malware, adapting the exploits from the NSA to be used, creating the command and control infrastructure, creating the Bitcoin accounts and the messages. There are 28 languages with ransom messages, so there's a lot of effort, and there are people currently collecting payments. So far, thankfully, there haven't been many people that have coughed up the ransom, but we can expect that they might make significant amounts of money.
And there is a danger, isn't there, Lauri, that others might take this code that has proved so successful in bringing down systems around the world and adapt it so that whatever countermeasures are being put in place would prove ineffective the second time round?
That's true. So the effort to create the first weaponized ransomware is quite high. The effort to adapt it a little bit, to tweak it, to change the ransom addresses is very small. So we can expect copycat and modifications of this to come. So until people secure the systems or take the insecure systems offline, this is only going to get worse.
And in terms, let's focus very specifically just on the NHS, both in England and Scotland, that's been affected. How difficult will it be for them to purge this from their system?
So it's hard to say in generality. Hopefully they have robust backup procedures in place so that if data has been encrypted, they can restore it from those backups, and they will have paper records. But as people are largely moving to paperless offices, as we've heard on the news, there's been significant disruption. We can expect that to get worse before it gets better, as the best mitigation advice is to take all computers offline until they have been proven to be secure.
Lauri Love, many thanks for joining us on Sky News.
Thank you.
Do stay with us. Coming up,